but it was like I've known them for years.
Yeah. You hear that, too, about, like, about how the locker room is in different places, but we have a really great, like you said, group of guys here. And then 10, 15 years ago, maybe not the case, but now everyone really is straight up.
Yeah, a lot of times, at least places that I've worked before, a lot of people felt, oh, this guy's coming here to take my spot.
Right.
And they were just, it was a problem. It was hard to fit in sometimes. And I can't say that I went through a lot of that, but there's none of that here.
Was it hard, too? Because I noticed last week, I saw you when you came in, you kind of came into the area we were going over the Rumble match. And you walked in kind of like very humble, but I was like, it's almost like you're the new kid in school.
Absolutely.
And you saw a couple people that you knew, but you just kind of quietly went. And I could see on your face, you're just like, here we go.
Yep. That's exactly the way it was. I mean, because, you don't want to come in there and just like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm AJ. I don't want to do that, but I was so thankful there were people there that I knew and people that I enjoyed working with, and so I made sure they knew that these guys who work for you also like me too. So you're in good hands, Yeah. So it was definitely an experience because we're gonna hide out the whole day, and they go, well, listen, the fact of the matter is you got to go. We got to go over this. Mm-hmm. So they're everybody that a lot of guys I didn't know. So I was nervous. I mean, I'm coming into someone else's house, and it's not just a house. It's a mansion here. It's somebody's mansion. A lot of guys have made up this great mansion. And I'm coming into their house and hoping to be part of this family.
Yeah,
it's a little intimidating.
And I think too, something like if you came in and you were like having a match with one person or a tag team match, you're in there with there's 30 guys, and there's Michael Hayes and Jamie Noble, and the agents are all there. Here you go, your first time there, and you have to kind of ingratiate yourself with everybody at once.
Right. And then that there's certain things going on with everybody. Everybody wants to get their stuff in and stuff up, and I want to be the guy that helps get their stuff in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to be also a little bit protective over yourself. But if you watch it back, you'll go, okay, AJ, you were in there a little bit too much, doing a little bit too much, getting tossed around maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I want those guys to know that I'm willing to get after it with them and have a good time over here.
Well, and I think that too. I think, when you watch it back, I think the idea as well, like we talked about, people are going to be excited to see you. And it should be about you for a certain amount of the time because the spotlight is on you as this new guy. You have to come out with a bang,
Well, I mean, I definitely got my stuff in. Thank you for letting me get in the springboard forearm in. And then I saw some openings, but sometimes, you just got to wait your turn, and that's what I did on a couple of those things. And you know what? For what it was worth, I thought it was, awesome for me. I mean, who would have expected what happened, how those fans reacted, because I certainly didn't, But it did make me feel a lot better because I was like, I hope they know me when I walk out, and they did.
Because that's the thing, like, your headline Tokyo Dome shows, and you're the top guy in Ring of Honor around the world, overseas. But here, you never know for sure, like, how many of those fans that watch New Japan Wrestling are going to be sitting in the crowd in, Orlando, Florida.
Right. I think, but, when you talk about the Royal Rumble, you got a lot of hardcore fans. Mm-hmm. Just as it's WrestleMania,
Right.
SummerSlam. People are definitely going to, the hardcore fans are definitely going to know anybody new who comes in. That's just the way it is. So it was the perfect place for me to start in the Royal Rumble. It was perfect for me, and I'm very thankful.
Tell us about that day. Like, how far in advance did you know you'd be debuting at the Rumble?
A couple days, actually. It's that week I got you're on the Rumble. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is great for me. And I even joked around thinking, I'll go number 2. That is no problem, guys. I'll just do number 2. And the fact when they said you're number 3 was perfect.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't be any happier with what I wanted. I mean, but the month prior to all this, my head was spinning because I didn't know what was next, if it was going to happen. Didn't get any sleep, because this is your career,
right?
And it couldn't have happened any better. Literally, I mean, nothing but great things to say.
Because you're taking like a big step too. Because once again, and I'm not saying this, for you to be bashful about it, but you're like a top guy. Like, headlining the Tokyo Dome is a massive thing, especially for a foreigner, for Gaijin in Japan. So you're taking a big chance, a leap of faith, to go from this place where you are a legit main event title-holding champion to basically starting from scratch again in a lot of ways.
Literally, I have to, start over again here because despite what people may say, and I appreciate them, putting putting my accolades out there and stuff like that. But I have to show the WWE universe that what I can do here in WWE. That's what it's all about now. But I'm up for the challenge. So
I always say, like, when guys get over somewhere, it doesn't matter if it's in the proverbial bingo hall or if it's at the Tokyo Dome. When you get over, you always know how to get over in different places. It just might take a while to figure out the different little nuances, but you've figured it out everywhere else. So it seems like you'll do the same here.
Well, it's going to take time, just like anything else, right? It's all about experience. And so I just got to get a little bit more experience here. I know I don't have a lot of time to do that, but I think I'm, going to be able to make that happen. If I were a betting man, I'd bet on myself. I always have. And I've done all right.
Now, being a professional for as long as you have, I'm sure you've been studying and watching. What are some of the differences that you've noticed right off the bat in the WWE?
Well, I can tell you what I was worried about right off the bat was I haven't been in a WWE ring since 2002.
Right.
And so I was pretty nervous about this because the ropes that I remember weren't as tight as those ropes are now.
Yeah.
So when we talked about I'll throw you over and stuff, I was like, I may really go out of this ring. Because I have no idea. And am I going to be able to springboard? Because before, you never know. So that was what I was most nervous about. And I thought I'd be thrown off about how the size of the ring. But New Japan's ring is pretty much the same thing.
Maybe both 20 by 20, aren't they?
This may be a little bit bigger, but not so much
right?
that it'd make a difference. Actually, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you're a little bit further away from the fans. Usually it seems like they're a little bit closer on everything else I've been to, where you had to worry about hitting the guardrail if you went over the top rope.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, here you don't have to worry about that. And depending on what venue you're in as well, when it comes to New Japan, that was a thing. So, but other than that, there's not that big a difference.
What about the ropes?
Well, the real ropes, as you know, where I'm so used to cables, but these ropes are pretty tight, and you get an extra spring from these ropes. I feel like I was concerned about them, as I told you before, so I came from the corner when I went to springboard up. But
right.
I'm confident I can come from the middle, which makes things a lot easier, moving around in the ring.
Yeah, all it takes is one time to figure it out, and then you got it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you didn't have a chance to go in the ring and bounce around because you were hiding.
None at all. So you can understand why I might be worried about the ring.
Were you in hiding in the bus, or did you have to? Where were you that day beforehand?
I was hiding in the bus.
Yeah.
We had a car pick me up in Tampa, so I didn't even fly into Orlando.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So then drove around and got me here. I saw people as I was moving, driving up to Orlando, so I had to lay down in the back seat so nobody could see me. And then we finally got in there and got into a trailer, and I met a couple people. But then soon after, like I said before, I had there's no more hiding. We got to get you in here.
Yeah. But it didn't leak, as far as I know. Like, AJ Styles is backstage,
which is a credit.
Yes.
To the boys in the back,
right?
Because they knew I was there, and they didn't say anything, and so the fact that they can keep their mouth shut. So a lot of guys cannot do it.
Yes.
Yeah. So those guys did a really good job, man. They didn't leak it.
It just adds to the whole ambiance and surprise element. It's so much more fun that way,
right?
If people don't legitimately know.
Well, and the thing is that there was all that speculation where is AJ's going to be at the Rumble? Everybody's like, oh, he's going to be at the Rumble. I'm telling you, he's going to be at the Rumble.
Yeah,
but you didn't know if I were going to be there.
Sure,
there was that little bit of doubt, and that's a great thing. It's not a bad thing that people suspected that I may be there. I think it actually made it better. Yes, number 3 was a perfect spot for me to come out because it was early enough.
It creates a whole buzz on top of the match having a buzz, anyways. You know what I mean?
Rumble, absolutely.
Yeah. I did that in 2013. I came back, same thing as you, hid in the bus and came out to do the meeting, and that was the same thing. Like, I felt so naked, some worker's gonna see me, or some guy hanging the lights or whatever, and nobody said a word. And I was Googling, because I went back to the bus after, and I was Googling right until the Rumble started. Did anyone see me? And no one announced it, and it just became this great, honest, shocking surprise. Which just adds to it.
Which doesn't happen much anymore.
Right.
So, man, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Was it hard? And I know because I had the Young Bucks, and they were talking about how that they didn't really hear from you, or because was it hard having like
I couldn't say
kayfabe your
anything.
friends?
I couldn't say anything. And everybody wants it wasn't just your friends, it was your family, you know, because I was like, listen, you guys can tell, you know, no matter what I say, they're still going to tell their friend, their closest friend, their closest friend. So I couldn't tell anybody. So I was just like, I even told my kids, like, listen, you know, Dad doesn't know if he's working there yet, so don't you say anything. And my wife had told me a story that my oldest son went and told a buddy and one of his close friends that my dad's working for WWE before the Rumble. And he told his mom, she says, you know you can't tell him. He goes, yeah. The next day he went and told his best friend that he was lying. You know? So I really appreciate that.
How old is he?
He's 10.
Okay. Yeah. You get that, though. I had that at my house, too. So you guys can't say anything. And my wife's like, well, who are they going to tell? You know, who their friends are going to tell? Like, I don't know. Their friend might read the sheets or read the internet nowadays.
Well, my son is so involved in sports, and so many dads know what I do for a living. I could see him telling his friend telling his dad, and it just gets around. You're like, oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I could see that happen.
Were guys asking you about it? Or were you...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had guys who I had talked to for years.
Right.
Hey, congratulations. I'm like, I'm not texting that guy back.
Yeah.
You know, and
right. You can't.
My wife's Facebook. Everybody's wanting to be her friend on Facebook now. You know, all this stuff. It was unbelievable.
How about like your close friends, though? Like your close buds? Would they cross that line, or would they just kind of let you...
They knew,
right?
You know, and I'll be honest with you. You know, if it were my closest friends, you know, we talked about it. You know,
sure.
you know. So everybody does, right? But you can trust them not to say anything. So I almost needed to tell somebody. You know, my wife wasn't enough.
Right.
I had to tell somebody.
But you don't want to cross the line. Like I know, like for example, I'm friends with Slash, and when the Guns N' Roses reunion was brewing, I never asked him. I still talk to him all the time, like about whatever. But I didn't want to. So tell me, like, dude, I'll let every other guy ask you that, and I'll just sit back.
Right. And you know, the guys who were, you know, my friends that were close to me, they didn't ask.
Yeah.
Some of my close friends somehow already knew that we're already in the WWE. So, you know, it was so hard keeping that a secret. I was relieved when it was over.
You told me that, yeah.
I was so like, oh, thank God. Hey guys, guess what? I do work for WWE. Thank God. You know,
yeah.
It was,
so WWE told you not to say anything, keep it secret.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, we're just going to keep this, you know, hush hush, kayfabe a little bit, you know, but I appreciate that. You know, it was what made the Royal Rumble great.
We still believe in surprises here as much as possible.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's great television.
That's what it should be.
Absolutely.
You know? All right, so now we know how you debuted at the WWE, AJ, but I want you to tell us about the road that led you to WWE. I want to hear how road life differs in the WWE compared to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I know my experience in Japan where everyone traveled in the same bus, one big family, and now here everyone drives themselves to the gig, however you want to do it with one person or nobody. I drive by myself. A lot of wear and tear on cars, though. A lot of miles in between towns. And that's where Denso Iridium TT spark plugs come in. Denso has a tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit. First time, every time. For example, Denso's new Iridium TT spark plugs. Iridium is the platinum family. It's the most corrosion-resistant metal known on Earth, resisting wear and tear and oxidization in the harshest of environments. The TT stands for twin tip, and this technology promotes the largest spark energy concentration and explosion. The result is better mileage, more power, and faster starts, all the while reducing carbon emissions. Taking things a step further, Denso developed a proprietary 360-degree laser welding process, which creates a high-quality bond that ensures structural support. With plugs to fit most makes and models on the road, Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs are designed to last more than 100,000 miles. When's the last time you had a car that lasted more than 100,000 miles? So Denso spark plugs will last longer than your car. And it's not expensive. It's just smart. Right now, Denso is making smart even more affordable with an instant rebate at Napa Auto Parts and a mail-in rebate at CarQuest and Advance Auto Parts. Okay, all of those places. But hurry, because while Denso Iridium's TT spark plugs will last you 4 trips around the globe, this limited time offer won't. So once again, head over and get the instant rebate at Napa Auto Parts and a mail-in rebate at CarQuest and Advance Auto Parts. Check out Denso Iridium TT spark plugs. Do it now. All right, I'm sitting here with AJ Styles. We're going to get into the story about how he got to the WWE, the road that led him to the big leagues. But before we do that, I got to say a big thank you to all of you people listening right now, all the Sexy Beast Talk is Jericho listeners for making this podcast possible. And also thank you for supporting the Talk is Jericho sponsors, which is why I get to keep doing this show for you for free. So thanks to you. That's right, you right now listening. I'm looking right at you. Thank you for supporting, and thanks to the great sponsors as well, including TrueCar. Okay, I downloaded the TrueCar app, and I've been working with TrueCar to buy my next car for a while. I'm really on it now. TrueCar is an incredible way to get a new vehicle. You can search out make, model, options, and even the color of the car you want and see what other people paid for it. And the really great thing about TrueCar and the TrueCar app is that you can lock in your guaranteed savings and skip the hassle of negotiating with the dealer. You don't have to hassle over options, all the extras they try and force on you, the protective coat, the scratch buffer, the tire shiner. You know, if that's a thing, you don't want it. You don't need it. You don't have to spend hours and hours at the dealership either. There's nothing worse than having to go sit there and it smells like a car lot and just sitting in there with a bad Muzak playing over the monitors. I don't want that. I want to buy a car all from the comfort of my own home, and you can do that with TrueCar. You can also save money. Check this out. You can save, on average, over $3,000 off MSRP. That's right, $3,000. That is a lot of scratch, man. TrueCar saves that money and makes car buying that much easier. Over 10,000 dealers in the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network, and they've sold over 2 million cars. All right? That's a lot. They've got an app for everything these days, but how many actually save you a serious chunk of change like TrueCar can? Listen, do the smart thing and download the TrueCar app. Buy that new vehicle, save time, save money, save us Y2J, and never overpay. Download the TrueCar app and do it today. So tell us about the road that led you, because the last time we spoke is right when you left TNA, and you were kind of going off into the wilderness. Although you already had a big name on the Ring of Honor Indies and stuff, but you had mentioned that WWE hadn't really called you or hadn't really sent out any feelers. So you went over to Japan and suddenly became this huge name.
And again, I had to start over in New Japan because here was a couple guys who really didn't know me that well. I knew Okada, who was a big name over there, and Tanahashi because I wrestled him before. But other than that, I really didn't know too many people. Of course, some of the guys I knew with the Young Bucks and some of the guys in the Bullet Club. But it was a nervous feeling when the guy comes in, a new guy comes in, and immediately gets pushed. Literally after I won the IWGP Heavyweight title, a couple of us from the Bullet Club, because when you're in Japan, it's very much a secret. What goes on. And so we were all...
You mean behind the scenes?
Yeah. And so we were all riding together, and we got out, getting, about to go in the hotel, and I said, listen, guys, I had to stop them and tell them, I know how this feels, that this guy gets the rocket pushed up his butt, and here you guys have been here for a long time. And I said, everything that we do from here on out is about us, not about me. It's about us. And I just want you guys to know that I'm on your team, that I'm not trying to stab each other, somebody in the back to get to the next level. I want this to be about us.
Us as in the other foreign guys, or as in the whole company?
The foreign, specifically the Bullet Club.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
Because I didn't want to feel like I was pushing them out of the scene to make myself bigger, but I wanted us to grow as that team together. And at the same time, though. What good is a company if everybody doesn't look good in it,
Right.
So I wanted the guys to know that I was wrestling, that, hey, let's tear the house down. Let's do what we got to do to make this a bigger company.
Let's talk about the Bullet Club a little bit. I obviously know the name and I know a little bit about it, but it became a really big faction, like NWO level of popularity.
Right. I mean, I'm not exactly sure when it took off or how it took off. I know that Devitt was
Finn.
Finn was
Finn Balor.
Yeah, it was a big part of that to start it up, and then he left and came to the WWE, which is I came in the night that he was leaving.
Oh wow!
So, and I remember standing up and saying, they asked me to say something, which was awkward, because I just got there, but I respected him for taking the challenge, to come here and never looking back. But then, we all kind of started this thing, and they were already kind of too sweet in each other, and telling people to suck it and stuff like that,
But it's the Young Bucks. It's you.
Young Bucks, me, Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, Yujiro, Bad Luck Fale, Tama Tonga, Kenny Omega.
Okay. That was your gang.
Yep.
So all foreign guys.
All foreign guys except for one, Udrio.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the only one, and but it worked. Because we were worried about it getting too big at first, and then we're like, okay, no, this actually works. Everybody had their own place, doing their own thing, and it all worked. And we all were friends. We all enjoyed hanging out with each other. It only got bad when they were in Japan and I wasn't, and the group text was going off at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Right. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon there.
Yeah. I'm like, stop.
So, but you guys made a pretty big name for yourself. Were you heels there? Did you eventually
we were heels. We tried to be heels. But you know how much they respect great wrestling, and so as long as they were seeing some athletic, unbelievable wrestling, they're supposed to hate you, and they try to hate you, but I don't think they really do. Despite who you are, as long as they're entertained, they're going to cheer you, and that's a great thing, though.
Sure,
I'm not mad about that because we were able to sell a lot of shirts. I was able to sell some gloves. There was good things that happened there.
So were you brought in there? Of course, you never get the guarantee, but were you brought in there knowing that you were going to be going for the world title or be in that picture?
I didn't know when I was coming over that's exactly what's going to happen. To tell you the truth, I was a little shocked because I probably would have never done that. If it were my company, I would never have done that.
Put the title on you?
I would never. This new guy coming in, that who knows if people know who he is, and put the strap on him right away. What am I saying about my own company if some foreign guy can come in here?
Did you win it that quickly?
Literally, I came in, beat up Okada, and showed the people that I was going to win this world. Next match I had in New Japan was for the IWGP title.
Okay.
And we cheated, of course.
Yeah.
And I won. And the people were shocked.
Right.
It doesn't get much quicker than that, to be their IWGP heavy. And for me, at that time, it was the most prestigious title in the world because I watched New Japan Pro Wrestling. I watched you wrestle in New Japan, so I always had a great deal of respect for that company because I enjoyed the wrestling too.
Right.
So for me to win that title was unbelievable.
But once again, not too many foreigners have ever won that title, and the ones that did were monsters, like Scott Norton, Vader had it.
Bob Sapp,
right?
Brock Lesnar,
Those are 300-pound guys.
Yeah.
And you're not 300 pounds, let's say.
Not even close,
right? So to put the title on you was from a pure wrestling, entertaining, amazing match standpoint, not because of your size in the least.
That's it. Basically everything, when people would have interviews, that would always come up, that these guys were so much bigger and you're not exactly. I said, well, you know what? Neither was Mike Tyson. But he did pretty well.
That's a great point, yeah.
So I always kind of referred to myself as the Mike Tyson of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's something you could actually even use here in the WWE because as you walk around, it's the land of the giants.
Big guys, for sure.
You can see that just like, oh my gosh, you forget just how, like, guys like Big Show, for example, we see him every day, and you walk past the guy sometimes and go, holy smokes, this guy's huge.
Yeah, you're around some of these guys so much, somehow they become smaller.
Yeah.
Well, they're not that much bigger than me, but when someone sees you behind them, I'm like, oh my God, they're enormous. I'm like, yeah, he's kind of big, I guess.
Right. Were there some guys that you'd never met before that you just met over the last couple weeks?
The Wyatts, I never met those guys before.
All those guys are massive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't even think about it.
Huge guys. Yeah, a couple guys like let's see who. There wasn't a ton of guys that I met, but Ryback. I say that, but I saw him in the airport. We just said hello together.
Who was that?
Ryback.
Okay.
Ryback, yeah. So I kind of knew him, and it was friendly to him then. So
right.
I guess now that you think about it, I guess I've been here. I went to WWE before, and had dark matches and whatnot. So there were some guys I'd met before. Not that they would remember me, but I guess there's very few that I've met that I haven't met in passing, I guess.
Okay. I remember you had a dark match maybe, I think we might have talked about this last time. It was Columbia, South Carolina or something like that. Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah.
One of those arenas where the hotel's right next to it. I remember seeing you there.
I think I want to say I wrestled Hurricane the night before that.
Okay.
And I can't remember who I wrestled. Oh, man. I hate myself for not being able to remember who I wrestled next.
You've had some dark matches. You flirted with this company for years.
Yes.
But never got in.
Well, I had the opportunity before, in 2002, but it was just it was bad timing. It was bad timing.
Right.
I'm sure we talked about this before.
That's right. You told me. It was like a low-level deal. And
not that I didn't want it.
Sure.
Just I was in college.
Yeah.
My wife, it was her dream, and
That's right. Yeah, you said that.
it was hard. It was a hard decision to make, but everything happened for a reason. I really believe that I had to go other places to get to this point in my life. I really believe that, and I wouldn't have changed anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, because like you said, if you're going to 2002 AJ Styles and 2016 AJ Styles, like everybody knows who you are and knows the quality of performances that you're giving. So I'm sure that's filtered back to the powers that be here, which is why they picked up the phone and called you when they didn't a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Sure. I mean,
whatever it was.
Yeah, definitely. I'd let them know that, after, I'd worked for the other company that I was ready and free and ready to go, and nothing happened. So I went to New Japan and, did well there. And I think that had a lot to do with just, like you said, with why I'm here now.
Right. So when you got the call, was it reaching out to see if you're available, or was it like?
Well, I got to tell you the truth. I was kind of talking with a friend and just kind of let them know that, I'm not on any contract whatsoever, and if there's some money to be made, I do not want to leave that left on the table. I enjoy where I'm at and I like what I'm doing, but, there's another challenge there too. So I just kind of threw it out there and just see if anything was happening. And then slowly but surely the ball started rolling a little bit more. And then, holy crap, it was moving so fast it was hard to keep up.
Right.
To the point where it was hard to sleep at night. So, so I guess maybe I reached out, but they were more receptive this time.
They were ready for it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too, and we haven't seen them yet. And it's wherever they end up, if they end up here or whatever. But it was you, and it was Gallows and Anderson and Nakamura, all left at once.
Yeah, that was a tough day.
Was it hard?
It was a tough day because we're going to have to come up and tell New Japan, who we really love those guys for what they've done for us and the way they've treated us. To say, well, all three of us are going. Mm-hmm. We're all leaving. And I knew that Nakamura had just told them as well, maybe a week prior.
Right.
And so putting them through that was really difficult, and it was really emotional,
Was it Gato that you talked to?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Gato and Tiger,
Tiger,
we'll let them know, and it was just, it's just hard, man, to say, hey, listen, thank you so much for all you've done for us, but we got to leave. That's really hard. But they were so professional, and everything they did, and thanked us. And I can't say enough great things about what they done for us and the way they treated us as we were leaving. Those guys are finishing it up. Nakamura's on his way. Mm-hmm. But it was a pleasure working for him.
Well, and that's the thing too, though. I mean, they have to know deep down inside that you're American. You need to work in this country. I mean, it's great in Japan. I love Japan. I've been there 60 odd times, but towards the end of being there, you don't want to be over in Japan all the time. It's a hard grind.
Well, you got a family too. And
so, for sure.
That scares me the most. What if something happened and I couldn't get home?
Right.
That scared me to death.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big reason that I wanted to come home. Is that so that I could be there for my family and the opportunity to wrestle here, of course.
Of course.
So it was a hard decision, but at the same time, everything that I do now is for my family.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a certain amount of time frame to do this. It's not like we're in the Rolling Stones and we can do this when we're 75. So you have to take the opportunities, the best ones, to prepare for that.
Right, and the opportunities here are so great. And I'm not just talking about getting in there and being on every show. I'm not just talking about that, but what about when it's over, when the wrestling part is over? Is there an opportunity to be an agent, a trainer, or something here?
Sure.
I do enjoy wrestling. I love everything about it. So to be a part of it would be a great thing for me. To have a job doing something
beyond
else.
The ring. Yeah. Was there ever any talk of you going to NXT first, or did you say like no need for that?
Well, now listen, I never said anything, but I was really relieved when they said you don't have to go that route. But I don't know if things would have been different if that was the route I had to go. To be honest with you, because of New Japan, and at the same time I was wrestling for Ring of Honor, and both were working together, so that you got one contract with this company and one contract with another. So that's a pretty good living.
Sure,
so it's a lot of traveling.
Yeah,
but that's still a pretty good living.
Yeah, you and the Young Bucks and Del Rio were the three acts I'm sure there's others, but to me that were like making really, really good living for yourself and not being here, which is rare, but it proved that you can do it.
Right.
You know?
I mean, and that was the thing, is that, I wasn't sure, what the future held, for me. I was a little scared, but again, I bet on myself and said, I'm going to make this thing work. I'm going to find a way. And lo and behold, things happen in a great way for me.
And being on the outside looking in and being in this company for as long as I have, it's a big deal to me and to, I'm sure you're figuring out that you didn't have to go to NXT because everybody has to go through that system now. It's almost like a must.
Right.
Because also, too, they're pulling big numbers, and then they're doing arenas now. They need all the names they can get. So the fact you came straight here, to me, shows that there's some idea about what you bring to the table.
Oh, well, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But and I'm not saying I'm above NXT.
No, I'm not saying that either.
I'm
not saying that either.
Those guys are great down there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them that will be moving up soon. There's no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe timing was an issue. There's a lot of guys hurt right now. And I think that might have something to do with that. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But, whatever happened, whatever was going to happen, I was going to make the best of it. Whether I stayed in New Japan or went to NXT or actually came here, whatever happened, I was going to make the best of it.
Let's talk a little bit about Nakamura. I know a lot about him as far as his reputation, but I haven't seen a lot of his actual work. But charisma-wise, he's got a great persona.
Overflowing with charisma. And, the guy used to do a little bit of MMA, so he knows a lot about that. But he's also, he's his own character. I mean, you've never seen anything like this guy unless you refer to Michael Jackson. And, and to see him in the ring, it's just like, wow, this guy's so good. And he speaks English. I told you that
heard
before.
Me say that.
Yeah. So that's a big thing, and he's just a pleasure to be in the ring with. He's very mature. He's not this guy who's just thinking about himself. He's thinking about the match or whatever needs to be done. It's a great guy.
So you mentioned like Michael Jackson. Does he dance or does he have?
He just has mannerisms as Mike. He does little Michael Jackson things and. It gets over, So, but it makes him so different than everybody else.
Sure,
nobody's doing Michael Jackson stuff, and I think it's going to get over with the crowd. His work alone will get over easily into throwing his little spices of Michael Jackson.
And I mean that's a huge chance that he's taking. Like you came here, but you are American. You live here. Like he's coming all the way over from Japan. He's really throwing it all on the line.
Yeah, I mean, and you're talking about a guy that went through the dojo in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Right.
And so that's, how big that is. And for him to take a step and come over here to America, just like you said, but I don't think people realize, when you work and go through a dojo, you have a job for life there. Like you're one of their guys. You're one of their boys, and they'll take care of you no matter what. And for him to say, you know what, I really would like to challenge myself over in America with WWE is huge.
It's huge that they took him too, because we haven't seen a Japanese superstar here. I always think Great Muta is the template.
Yes.
He came over here, became a huge star here, and then stayed a huge star in Japan. But yeah, I mean that's taking a real shot.
Yeah, well, and he's not your typical. Everybody. How everybody refers to the Japanese. They're small. Well, I got news for you. That isn't exactly how it is over there. I'm still, they have big Japanese guys over there too.
Oh yeah.
And Nakamura's not small. And everything he does is like you said, it's so much charisma, and it's just you got to see it. I mean, if you haven't seen Nakamura, you got to see it to go, wow, this guy's awesome.
That's cool, yeah, because
he's smooth.
He's going to debut, I believe, at the next big show for NXT, Dallas. Man. I think they announced it the other day.
Oh man, the roof's going to blow off the place. I really believe that. There's, the thing is that as I was talking to someone today, you can't help it. Sometimes, like New Japan Pro Wrestling is over here in the States now,
right?
And sometimes you can't help it. You're flipping the channels, like, oh wow. So there's an opportunity to see this guy before, you can watch NXT. Yeah. So but that's a great thing for WWE because now people are getting a little bit familiar and get excited about this guy coming.
Yeah, there'll be some name value. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Was it hard to? I mean, you kind of mentioned that it was hard to go, say that you were leaving. Was it hard to kind of really actually like when you had your last match there and like?
It was. When I was telling everybody how much I appreciate them, the whole locker room, as you know, you probably stood in front of them before and said, I'm leaving, and I got a little choked up and looked around and seeing the guys that I respected getting a little choked up. It was that's what made it hard. It was just a bunch of great guys, to work with and work for, and you appreciate that stuff. It's not something that you see every day. So when you have to leave it, it's really hard.
Was your last match the one at the Tokyo Dome?
No, my last match, we did Corgan Hall the next day.
Oh, okay. Well, that was it, though.
And that was it.
Right.
And the Bullet Club turned on me and beat me up, and we did what's best for business,
Yeah.
So, but it was, it was a weird feeling leaving. But only been there for 2 years, but it felt like I'd been there forever.
Because it's such a great crew too. New Japan kind of went through a renaissance over the last couple of years. With, you mentioned Nakamura and Tanahashi and Okada, all the guys, the whole club. I mean, it was a good crew.
Oh man, the best. I mean. I loved getting there when working with everybody. There was a couple guys who you thought that, well, these guys won't mesh well in the ring, but me and Yano, who does strictly ha-ha kind of stuff, and sometimes I'm hardcore. I mean, him and I had some of the best matches, and it was pure entertainment. It was great. I loved it.
Who did you work in Tokyo Dome? Tanahashi?
I worked Nakamura.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
So and him and I thought had a really great match. It was a real special match because him and I never had a singles match together. The whole 2 years that I was there.
Really?
We never faced each other in a singles match. So that was the big thing, that they had built this thing up for almost 2 years, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
So that's what made it, not only that it's the Tokyo Dome, obviously, but to wrestle Nakamura in the Tokyo Dome was very exciting for me.
It's hard to work at dome shows, though. I always find, even here for WrestleMania, the crowd is so big.
Oh, yeah.
And I find the sound goes up rather than in.
Yes.
You're
absolutely right. And it seems like, I don't know why, it just seems like they're further away.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like they're not close enough. I want to hear you.
Delayed reaction.
Yeah. But it was still, I mean, when you walk out there and you see a sea of people, it doesn't get much better than that. And knowing, the history of the Tokyo Dome.
Right.
And so many great matches that have been there. And to walk that long ramp.
Because it's long.
Oh, it's long, but it's awesome. It is awesome.
I remember one time we were in, Edge and I were working WrestleMania, and when it was one of those things, like I said, we're doing this really cool set of reversals, and there's just there's reaction, but it's not, I was like, does this match suck? Like, is this any good? You watch it back and it's great, but at the time you're like, where's everybody?
Yeah.
We just have to know that.
Yeah. And that, and the Japanese crowds are a little bit different.
Sure, they're more subdued as it is.
So they're not as loud, sometimes. But if you get them, their loudness comes from their ooh, ah,
1, 2, oh,
stomp their feet,
Yeah.
That if you get them doing that, you're doing something right.
Yeah. So was there some guys here that that you knew from Japan or elsewhere that you called and asked advice for?
The only guy that I really talked with was Samoa Joe.
Okay.
Because he'd been and he's doing the NXT.
Yeah.
But his thing was just like, man, the roster is unbelievable. It's great, man. This is the perfect place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to imagine, it being such a great place because it's so huge. And you've heard stories in the past where it wasn't exactly like that here.
You mean from a talent standpoint, or from a?
I guess from a talent standpoint.
Right.
And when I'm talking about in the past, I'm talking about from a long time ago.
Sure.
So you always worry about this monster that you're walking into and how everybody's going to be. But for Joe to tell me that, dude, you got to be here to believe it. This is the perfect place to be. This is where you've worked your way to be. This is where you want to be. This is where everybody wants to be. And they have no clue why they want it. They think it's just because it's the biggest part of wrestling that you can possibly go to, but it goes beyond that with the, how people respect you here, and you can't ask for much more than that.
It's funny, last week when we did our little pre-tape or live thing, whatever it was, and I said, welcome to the big leagues, and people are like, what are you talking about? AJ's in the big leagues. I wasn't demeaning anywhere else in the world. I've been there, but nothing matches or beats being in the WWE. It's the WWE.
Listen, I told a buddy of mine, like I said, I've been wrestling for 17 years. And he said, well, listen, you were in the minor leagues, then you went to Japan to play baseball, and now you came to the MLB.
Yeah.
That's what this is basically, is. It's just the biggest wrestling company in the world, and you can't. That's the facts.
Sure.
And people, every time I've ever come through the airport, through immigration, from coming home from Japan, what do you do? Pro wrestling. Oh, like WWE?
Something like it.
Now I get to say, yes, exactly like WWE,
right.
because I work there.
Yeah. Yeah, I said that more people know who you are now than the entire other 17 years and 2 days of your career, whatever it's been.
It's amazing.
You know, just last week on Raw, more people probably saw you than have seen you your whole career.
You're probably right. I mean, just so many things have happened. Like it's like, oh, he's on WWE now. Now we can follow him on Twitter. Like, I've been on Twitter forever,
right?
You know, Instagram. How'd that pick up so much? Well,
but now, excuse me, like I said, you're officially in the business now. I'm sure, like, you know, your in-laws or whatever, like, oh, well, you're like, now you're actually made something of yourself.
Yeah, you're actually a star. I'm like, oh, okay.
But that's the vibe here, you know.
Well, that's the vibe that gives off to everybody, because so many people come up to me and said, like, "Hey, congratulations, you did it! You finally." I'm like, "Okay, I guess you're right," you know. But it's a good feeling to say, "Yeah, I am part of WWE now." You know, that's a great feeling. It's a great thing to say.
Yeah,
you know, and I can wear my WWE shirt and be proud. You know,
but you should be here. Like I said, like everybody that finally comes, like you mentioned, it took a long time to get here, and everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. But this is the elite of the elite, and that's nothing against New Japan. They're a great company, and all these other companies, Ring of Honor, got some tremendous performers. But the best in the world are here, and there's so much more to what we do other than just being in the ring, you know, as far as personalities and characters and all that sort of stuff. So you're going to become a better performer just from being here.
There's no doubt. And the guys that I get the opportunity to work with, you know, who can help me be a better performer. And that's what it's all about. And you never stop learning, as you know, in the wrestling business. And I'm all about that. I want to learn as much as I possibly can so that when the time comes, I can share that information with someone else and hopefully get them either quicker or, you know, to here or somewhere else where they can do well in the wrestling business.
Is there some people here, like, who are you looking forward to having some matches with here?
Neville, you know, him and I worked a while back, and to get in there with him now, he's a totally different guy, and so am I. You know, to get in there and wrestle him, I think that'd be really fun. But there's a lot of guys that I'd want to get in here with, or get in the ring with. You know, I want to get in the ring with Triple H. You know. Some of the guys I was in the ring with them, but didn't really touch them in the Royal Rumble. You know? There's a lot of guys. I mean, I want to get in here with the whole roster. Yeah, you know, honestly, I want the opportunity to work with everybody and have great matches with everybody. Be very entertaining with everybody.
Sure,
that's what this is all about. That's why I'm here.
Have you had you had some interactions with Triple H before you came here? Were you dealing with him?
The first time I shook his hand was last Sunday.
Really?
Yeah. So it was. I officially had met him, but we had talked on the phone, and I was shocked and surprised to see that this guy, who is turning things around in NXT and doing such great things, was so humble. And, you know, and when I talked to him with our first couple conversations, good conversations, ball business, and then we, you know, I think maybe one of the last times we talked right after Christmas was about Christmas and our kids, you know. So it's very you know, humbling to meet a guy who you know, it's family's important to him as well. You know, it's a great thing, and so I knew in talking to him, this was a great place for me to be.
How about guys like, you know, you see Arn Anderson walking around and Michael Hayes and those type of guys? Was that kind of a cool thing? Like,
well, I've known Michael Hayes, you know.
Oh, okay.
I've met him before, and I know Arn, but I don't know. He must be a ninja because I haven't seen him in here.
I saw him today once for a second. Yeah.
So I haven't seen him, but you know, seeing those guys who I watched obviously back in the day, it was pretty awesome. You know?
Yeah.
Even when I met those guys in WCW, and very, very cool. Very, always good to me. You know, I don't know if it's because I was from the South or whatever it is, but they were good to me.
When I first came up here in '99, I looked at the card, and if it said, you know, like AJ versus, you know, Jericho, and there was initials beside it, and I was like, what are those initials? And they said, well, that's your agent. And I said, what's an agent? I think we'd never had that before in WCW.
Oh, wow.
Someone to kind of help you put together things. But, I mean, last week, like when we had our match, and Jamie Noble's sitting there, and I love that element of it. Did you have that in... Well, TNA you had it, but do you have agents in Japan?
No.
You didn't before?
No.
Yeah.
Well, they trust you to put together the best match possible.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, so I was familiar with the agent thing, but, you know, Jamie Noble,
wasn't he great?
I've known Jamie for a long time, and for him to sit there and help me put together a great match, it was great. I mean, I really enjoyed it, him being there, helping me put this thing together.
We were sitting in the production office going over the finish on the carpet.
Going over everything, right?
People are typing out their, you know, their schedules, and we're like,
rolling around.
Can you move these chairs out of the way, please? If people only saw that part of it, right?
Oh, right. It's
you know,
ridiculous.
Yeah. How about, have you had any interaction with Vince at all?
A little bit. Him and I did sit down and talk, and we talked about this character that we wanted to see. So hopefully I'll give him. I know this character that he's talking about because I was him. This guy who's had to fight for everything, and I'll refer back to when I wrestled in high school and college. I always thought that, how dare this guy get on the mat with me and think that he's going to beat me? I take that as an insult. So now you're going to have to pay the price for being on the mat with me. I'm going to hurt you. I'm not going to beat you. I'm going to hurt you in the process of beating you. So I know that guy that he wants to see, and that's an easy guy for me to be.
See, I love that element. Was this last week that you spoke to him?
Yeah.
Because Vince is very, very, and you can see since 1980 till now, very character-driven, personality-driven. It's not that he doesn't care about a 5-star match, but he cares more if you have a 5-star personality. That's the basis of what WWE is. So I love the fact that he sat down with you to start talking about what a character you're going to have.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get that much from anything, and so the fact that we're trying to find out what that is, and I would say the character that he explained to me is very close, very similar to the guy that...
And he saw that right away?
I don't know.
Did you have a conversation with him first? Or
No, we shook hands.
Yeah.
And just kind of talked about it, and... he brought it up. This is the way you need to be. I mean, you're not the tallest guy. You're not the biggest guy, but you're a pet bull. I'm like, I know that guy. I can be that guy.
Let me just translate that from your southern accent. Pit bull. You said pet bull. You're a pet bull.
Pit bull. Well, you know what I mean. Yeah. Not a pet bull.
Yeah, a pit bull.
Pit
right.
bull. Yeah.
But I mean, that's what he did with everybody that's come through these doors. I remember. Look at Daniel Bryan. When he first came into the phenomenon of the Yes movement, now that didn't exist right off the bat, or Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat. Eddie had no character when he came here, but Vince found those little things and really focused on that to make you from AJ Styles to this more well-rounded character, which makes more money for everybody.
Listen, the WWE's not in business today because this guy didn't know what he's doing, right? He's been doing this for a while, so he honestly, he knows what he's doing. So any advice from this man, I will take and do whatever I, do as much as I can with it.
It's great to have that direction too.
Yeah, listen, we've both been at other places, and you don't get that direction as definitely as much as you should. And for the man to give you direction.
That's cool. Yeah, just giving you that one-on-one.
Absolutely. You don't get that anywhere else. You really don't.
No, especially from the one thing I love about here is exactly who the boss is.
Right.
There's no everybody that you talk to has to go ask Vince anyways. Triple H on down. So I always enjoy those one-on-one conversations because I know, I had one with him a couple of weeks ago just to discuss some things, and I had an idea that he didn't see it the same way. Once he told me why, I got it. Because like you said, it makes sense now.
Right. When they explain their vision to you, you finally, okay, now I know why I'm not doing this. Now I know I'm not coming from here. I got it. And now you're able to think about it. When you're driving these long drives as we do, you're able to think about this for 3.5 hours about this character, and the ideas that come up, and some, and you can share them. Now you get the opportunity to share them with Vince and see what he thinks about it.
What do you think about they actually mentioned the travel? Japan, you get on the bus, you get off the bus, your hotel is there, and TNA was very sporadic shows. Have you been on a schedule like this of 4 days a week, 5 days a week?
Well, I'm getting ready, hopefully, to be on the 4 or 5 days a week. That's what I want. That's why I came here. But just driving 3.5 hours to each venue, that's a long drive, especially when you're by yourself and the show gets over at 11.
Yeah.
So you're driving to at least 2:30 in the morning. If you stop, now it's 3.
Yeah.
So it sucks driving that, but that's part of the business.
Sure.
This is what we do, and it gives us time to think about it, and so a lot of times it gives you the opportunity to ride for guys you've never would have rode with before and get to know them better, and who knows what may come out of that. I've made some great relationships through pro wrestling because of the drive.
Sure.
So I kind of look forward to them.
Is there some guys that you're going to travel with? Are you going to be on your own, or what do you think?
I don't know yet. I definitely want to find guys to travel with because I don't want to pay for that whole rental car myself.
Right.
But who knows? The Xavier Woods. Him and I go way back.
Really?
Yeah.
TNA maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
He was the reason why I was the reason why he got there. don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But
Oh, you brought him in?
But yeah.
Oh, okay.
But we started in NWA Wildside back in the day too.
Wow. Okay.
So I've known him for a really long time. It was so awesome to see, so much success that he's had, but more importantly, that we shared the love of video games. So that would be, if I ride with some guys, hopefully it'll be, those guys or anybody for that matter. I don't care who it is. I want to get to know everybody on the.
That's so funny. I just had him on a couple weeks ago, just talking about video games, and everybody here, like he's got his show Up, Up, Down, Down, and everybody is just video game. Like Rusev's playing games, and Cesaro, like everybody's into it. So if you love video games, you're already in.
That's great, because I don't just love them; I'm addicted to them.
Really?
Yeah. Oh man.
Which ones are your favorites?
Well, I don't think I would say I have a specific favorite because we'd have to be talking about these systems that, because there's so many systems. I mean, I have arcade cabinets.
Like stand-ups?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have them in my house.
Yeah.
Along with pretty much every other video game console you can think of. And plus, when I went to Japan, my favorite thing was going to these retro video game stores and shopping, going crazy. So,
like, what would they have there? Like Atari cartridges and stuff?
Well, the Atari, it's okay, but to have some handhelds that nobody has seen before, like TurboGrafx 16 handhelds, which was I think it was called Turbo or something. I have the Japanese version.
Okay,
but they're still very hard to get a hold of. Virtual Game Boy, I bought like 16 games for it. Atari Lynx is a handheld, and I bought like that and 16 games to the point where I walked in and it was very expensive for some of these items, and I was like, I'm not getting that; it's too expensive. And I went back to the hotel and thought about it all night long, and went back the next day and bought every one of them. So it's just part of my life. This is some people have habits.
Yeah. Some people play cars, or some people play whatever. Yeah.
Right. Mine is video games.
What stand-up games do you have?
I've got a 60-1, so it means all your old school games.
Yeah, I have that one. Yeah, like 8 Pac-Mans and 10 Donkey Kongs.
Exactly. Then I have Track and Field, and then I have a Neo Geo. Then I have a MAME, so it plays all those old school games. But my favorite one is a Play Choice 10. Now you may not know what that is, but back when we were young, you could go into, before there were Walmarts, department stores, and they have a Nintendo game that you could play if you put in your quarter for 3 minutes and see if you wanted to buy it.
Oh, really?
I have that arcade at my house. That's my most prized possession.
So you have your own arcade there?
Pretty much. Yeah. Sometimes me and the boys, my sons, we'll go down there. We'll just play some video games. It's fun.
Time Pilot was my favorite. Did you ever play Time Pilot?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have my son playing that with me. That's old school, probably 1985 maybe.
It's one of the older ones.
Yeah, it's just fun to play at those.
My son, I've caught him playing Galaga and Burger Time.
Galaga's so good.
Yeah. So
Burger Time's so stupid.
It's so stupid, but so fun once you start playing it. I just remember being in a laundromat when my parents used to, my mom used to go wash clothes, and there was a Track and Field there, and I would play it and play it and play it.
Was that the one that had the spinning ball?
No. Track and Field, you had to. It was a button smasher.
Okay.
It was the Olympics.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that one. You had all the different events.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
There was a track game where you had a ball that you would roll. I'm not sure which one that one was.
I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking
What did you guys used to do on the bus in Japan? Was there a lot of video games? Like, let me explain why I'm asking this. Because when I spent all my time in Japan was in 94, 95, 96. So this is pre-cell phones, no video games. It was reading and watching movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's they have things now, like they have a Super Nintendo handheld that that I was enjoying. But I got to tell you, man, I started reading books.
Yeah,
I just got into novels and stuff like that, and started enjoying books again.
Yeah.
So long bus rides,
And you're talking long, like 5, 6, 7, 8 hour bus rides. They're long ones.
They're the long ones.
Yeah.
They're no joke. At least you're not driving them, but at the same time, you're stuck in the seat, maybe beside someone for 8 hours. It sucks sometimes. It just thank God for iPads or iPods and books and video games and stuff like that, because I can imagine going through what you had.
It's so stupid. It was only 20 years ago, but it might as well have been like the 50s. It was just so bad.
I remember being in Japan in the early 2000s, and they were taking their picture with me with their phone. I was like, holy cow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And even then I had to get a calling card to call home because our cell phones wouldn't work over there.
Right. You'd go get you buy them at the station?
Yeah.
You buy 10 for like 1,000 yen or whatever?
Yep.
That they've been refurbished.
Yeah, yep.
The Turkish guys would sell them at the station.
Yeah. You don't.
Half of them
wouldn't
work.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's an app now that I found last time I went over there. You can speak into it, and then it'll translate it into Japanese.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Sure, I have that one too, and I used it, and they go, that's not exactly right. I'm like, well, this thing's pointless then. I just might as well try to learn this stuff on my own.
Did you try and learn Japanese?
I tried.
Yeah,
It's
hard.
It's very difficult, and especially having a southern tongue.
Oh,
I don't know if that's actually anything, but it was hard for me to learn Japanese. Just the enunciation and everything is just difficult. I mean, it really is.
Are you going to miss those guys that we're on the bus with?
I am.
Yeah.
I mean, just goofing off and stuff like that. It's there's just experiences that you'll always remember, and it came at some of the most unpleasant moments. Being on that bus for 8 hours or whatever, or stopping at a rest stop and getting noodles and stuff like that to eat. Some of those I'll never forget. The 2 years
Great
that I
times,
spent there in New Japan.
And that's one thing you mentioned, like here in this company. Some guys are on some shows. Maybe you're on, Macon, and I'm in Chattanooga. So you're traveling kind of on your own, or everyone kind of does their own thing. And the only time you get to experience that is when we go overseas. Then you get on the bus with everybody, and that's like old school times.
Yeah.
It's funny. I said something on Raw a couple weeks ago. I was talking about the Usos, and I said, we're my back of the bus brothers. And some people, because people want to complain or try and find shit and everything, was insinuating that was some kind of a racist remark.
Right.
And it's like, no, we are literally sit in the back of the bus, brothers, and just hang out and drink and talk and shoot the breeze. That's what you do on a bus.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To the point where if so many people, like Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows would sit on the bus, and I don't know if they got bored or just they were going insane. I don't know exactly what was happening, but they just wouldn't stop talking about the same thing. Now they kept trying to crack jokes about the same thing, and within 5 minutes, the earphones went on. I just tried to ignore them because to the point where they had to listen to what I was listening to because I had my iPod turned up so loud, so I wouldn't have to hear them. Right. They're like, what does he listen to? Michael Jackson? Is that Michael Jackson? They know what I was listening to.
Right. Just as we're winding up here, I was talking to Gato last time we were in Japan. We went and had dinner, and a lot of the New Japan guys were there. Okada was there, and David Finlay, and Cody Hall, and Carl Anderson was there. I didn't really know him too well. And he went up to go to the bathroom or something, and Gato said to me, he goes, that's my star right there. He was talking about Anderson, how great of a performer he is, or how valuable he was to the company. Once again, don't know anything about Carl. Good guy, good performer.
Oh, great guy, great performer, family man. He's been, he went through the dojo as well.
Did he really?
He's kind of like. He was a young boy to an extent. He didn't have it as rough as some of the, the actually Japanese young boys, but he still spent a lot of time over there. He was over in Japan for 8 years. So it was.
Wow.
Can you imagine, working there for so long? But I think, also for him, it was time to come home. But, man, he's a performer. He's hilarious. This guy is going to fit right in, and they already know Gallows.
Yeah.
So both those guys are going to fit
And it's
right
very
in.
rare for them to bring people back. It doesn't happen all the time. So the fact that Gallows is coming back for a second chance, once again, he must be kicking ass over there, too.
Right. I mean, both those guys were. They're tearing it up over there. They're a great tag team, and they're very, very entertaining. And I think that's why they're coming back, is they're entertaining.
I always feel happy for guys like that, like you mentioned, like an Anderson who spent 8 years in Japan. That's a great, great time. But it's like you said, it's time to come work here.
I mean, yeah.
You feel happy for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was worried about him because I don't know if he was going to be able to make that decision. Not the transition, the decision, because it was so big. But, it was just the time was right, and again, we all loved what we were doing in New Japan, but it was just timing.
Well, I mean, like I said, the world is abuzz that you're here. What are your goals now in the WWE?
Well, my goal is to be part of this family, that I'll be a known commodity here in WWE. Bigger than, this little time that I've been here. I want them to be, when people think about AJ Styles, I want them to go WWE. And when I will go through immigration, they don't have to ask, they know.
Right.
But I'm a WWE guy now.
Yeah. Last question. All those great matches you had in Japan, which one was your favorite?
Oh, man.
Is it hard to pick one?
That's so hard. I will say this. Tanahashi and I, it was the G1 tournament. If I won, I went to the finals of the tournament which was, Gajian has been there before, Carl Anderson, but they've never won it.
Oh, Carl was in the finals, okay.
But him and I had an outstanding match to the point where we had people crying in the front row.
Wow.
Which was, I must be doing something right. And I remember having him in my submission, calf killer / whatever, calf slicer, what we're going to call it.
What are we going to call it here?
I think we're going to call it the calf slicer.
Okay.
Which is a legit MMA move, so
gotcha.
That'd be easier for people to follow. But I thought, man, I really got him in this hold for a little bit too long, and I was like, maybe he should get the ropes. I'm kind of pushing him towards the rope, but he saw something I didn't. He saw those people getting emotional in the front row. So, I didn't realize at the time, but then as he hung on a little bit, longer, you could hear it. So that just goes to show what a professional that Tanahashi is, that he stayed in that hold just a little bit longer because he could see it. My back's to him, so I couldn't see it.
Right.
And it turned out to be one of my favorite matches, not just based on that part, but the emotion that we got out of the crowd from the whole match.
Right. And just taking the time there.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the thing here, like with time cues, you always have to be cognizant of that. In the WWE, right?
Yeah, they just told us not to go over 30 minutes. and I literally heard 27. I was like, we're going to go over. I was like, oh man, but we ended up going about maybe 29 minutes, which is great because the match in retrospect you thought, well, that's only going to last about 20 minutes, no big deal. But the fact that we put time and more character into that match rather than just the wrestling and but the selling and the little things along with that, I think that's what made it so great.
Yeah. Actually, one last thing I was going to ask you is you were talking. There was some rumors. I don't know how true it was, but I heard that you had hurt yourself or your back was bugging you. So I hooked you up with DDP for his yoga.
Right
now,
it's amazing. I mean,
unbelievable, right?
You gave me that text, and and I got in touch with DDP. He told me to come up there.
Because he has a place in Atlanta.
Right,
yeah.
and a beautiful place. And so we went up there, and he put me through one of his workouts, which I wasn't expecting for him to take that time with me and do that. And it blew my mind. My heart rate was up. Like I was burning calories doing yoga. So I couldn't wait to get home and get started on it. And stand-up's one of my favorites.
I love stand-up.
I could do that all day. It's fun, it's easy, and it helps you with your breathing. A lot of people don't know that. So there was a lot of stuff I learned from going there, and at the same time I was, helping myself out with, some, I don't know if it was, I think it was more muscle than it was anything, so.
Just loosens you up all the way around.
It just loosened my muscles up, and I couldn't believe what took place within the next week, how great I felt.
It's great in the Rumble.
So I got to thank you for that, and DDP.
We believe in DDP. It was funny in the Rumble. I was like, man, you're strong. You're like, DDP yoga's working, brother. Welcome to the circus, AJ. Welcome to the WWE.
Thank you, man. I'm glad to be a part of it.
All right, always fun to talk with AJ Styles. So glad he's in the WWE, and I'm also so glad that our angle is continuing. This Thursday night on SmackDown, it's AJ versus Y2J2 from Portland, Oregon. We killed it the other night on Raw, and now we're going to take our feud over to SmackDown. Hashtag AJ versus Y2J2 will be on this Thursday on SmackDown. You saw it on SmackDown tonight, the way that it went down. The challenge was made. The match will take place. I'm very excited to see how it goes, and I'm happy to have AJ in the WWE. Thank you for listening. Thanks to AJ for being here. And thanks for listening to the Motley Crue Crewcast last week with Bubba Dudley and Dolph Ziggler. I asked you to weigh in on the Crewcast on iTunes, and you did. I'll share a couple comments with you. Gabriel Kraft left an iTunes comment that said, very entertaining episode. However, you guys didn't discuss the Crew record Saints of Los Angeles. You're right. I love Mother Effer of the Year. Saints of Los Angeles, also a great tune. There's a lot of things we didn't discuss. We didn't discuss Alistair Fiend. We didn't discuss the Nasty Habits, which were the background dancers that the Crew had on the Dr. Feelgood tour. That's actually the name of our group text. Me and Dolph and Bubba have a group text, and we call ourselves the Nasty Habits. So anyways, Gabriel continues, I agree about the statements from the final tour. The band seemed not as into it as they should have been. I saw them in Louisville on the first half of the All Bad Things Must Come to an End tour. The band didn't play their best, but the show was amazing. In my opinion, they were firing on all cylinders during the Carnival of Sins and Saints of Los Angeles tours. Awesome podcast. All right, Big Bun 83 said, love, love, love it. That's 3 loves. And I want to read from another iTunes comment. This is from Pick_David, who said, have to compliment Chris for scheduling some great guests on his show. As in life, you never know who he has as a guest who may pass away at a later time. His talk with Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead was very memorable, and his follow-up conversation with Phil Campbell was heartwarming and heartbreaking. Okay, well, thank you, Big Bottom. Or sorry, was that Pick David? Avalanche 318 commented and said the podcast needs more Fozzy. Well, hey, I appreciate that. Doesn't the world need more Fozzy? But I appreciate you commenting and all the 5-star ratings at iTunes. Keep them coming. I read them. I love hearing what you guys have to say about the guests you like and the ones you like to hear on the show in the future. Plus, your comments and ratings really help us out, help us move up the iTunes charts, which is so importante. Do you want to hear more music discussions with me and Dolph and Bubba? What do you think? Send us some ideas of bands that we should analyze the same way we did the Crewcast or the Kisscast with Frank Fonsoret and Rich Ward from Fozzy and Kent Slusher from the Luke Bryan Band. There's been a lot of cool conversations. We got a Beatles podcast coming up with Charlie Benanti from Anthrax. So it's another way I like to bring you guests and conversations you won't hear anywhere else. If you like it, don't forget, go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and hit the subscribe button while you're there. Subscribing means you'll never have to say you're sorry and never have to miss an episode. All right, thanks to all of you for doing your online shopping through the Talk is Jericho Amazon links. Don't forget, you can find them by going to podcast1.com. Click on the Killer Deals button in the top right corner of the page, then hit the Talk is Jericho button. I got Amazon links for the USA, the UK, the Canada A. Every time you use the Talk is Jericho Amazon links, Amazon kicks back a small percentage to the show to help us cover production costs. No hidden fees or extra charges. You can buy just about anything you can think of on Amazon, and always and usually at the best price. So podcast1.com. Killer Deals button in the right-hand corner of the page, then hit the Talk is Jericho button. All my great sponsors are on there: TrueCar, Geico, Denso, Iridium, TT Spark Plugs, DDP Yoga Now app. Don't forget, go to ddpyoga.com/Jericho. Get 3 free months of the DDP Yoga app. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, we're going to tape it on Tuesday in Portland. You'll watch it next Thursday on SmackDown. Hashtag AJ versus Y2J2. Check it out, and check out the 60-second AP news headlines coming up next. Stay hard, stay hungry, peace, love, and hugs. And next Wednesday, we got the Cologne Cousins. Primo and Epico are going to be here. You know them as the Matadors as well. They've been in the WWE for a long, long time. It's going to be a great conversation with Eddie Colon and Orlando Colon. Huge, long history. Their family's been in the business for 40, 50, 60 years, and they've been in the WWE for coming up on a decade now. The underrated, amazing workers in the WWE. These guys are very underrated, and you're going to hear all about the Colones next Wednesday right here on Talk is Jericho. Going to be a good show. Arriba la raza, and yeah, boy!
You can download new episodes of Talk is Jericho every Wednesday and Friday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
AP Update. I'm Carlotta Bradley. Republican presidential hopeful Carly Fiorina is not pleased she was excluded from tonight's presidential primary debate now taking place in New Hampshire. She points out that in the Iowa caucuses, she finished ahead of some of the candidates who are debating on the stage. On the Democratic side of the presidential race, Bernie Sanders was in Rindge, New Hampshire, saying his campaign is different, which is why he thinks they're doing well.
We're doing something extremely radical. We're telling the American people the truth.
In Concord, New Hampshire, his rival, Hillary Clinton, said she is in the best position to fight Wall Street abuses.
I have the best experience and the best ideas to take on the abuses from the financial sector, to stand up to Wall Street. Why would they be running $6 million of ads against me right now if they didn't know the same thing?
AP Update. I'm Carlotta Bradley.